In today's video, I'm going to talk about energy vampirism, and it's again a very common theme we all have encountered in our lives. So energy vampirism is about consuming energy from a host. How do people vampirize energy? There are many different ways. One of these ways can be to be asking a lot of personal questions to gain control over the communication and over your life. These are questions to really suck out your energy. They are not really genuine questions. It is to extract your essence, and you will feel it in the frequency, because usually you don't really want to answer. Like this might be your first impulsion, but sometimes there is something like a form of programming that can override your first impulse, and maybe it's a programming to be kind, not to leave others without answers because it's rude or different kind of things. And again, we go back to that politeness programming. Maybe we're thinking, okay, I will concede this time. Or maybe we place a boundary at the beginning when we notice that dynamic playing, but then later we might get a little lazy, or we might get sucked into some aspects of the relationship and forget about the necessity to have this boundary. So one of the ways that I found to deal with energy vampirism in my life with different handlers, especially one of my primary handlers, where this dynamic was playing a lot, where he is asking a lot of questions to gain control, to further handle my life or things like this. So it's been a long time I already have withdrawn sharing with him anything emotional. And lately, I mean, the last year and a half, probably I also withdrew from sharing even anything 3D, because I noticed that even the 3D things, he would end up using them in whatever way he could think about. So when you withdraw all of this, there is not much to talk about anymore with these people when there is this dynamic going on. I also noticed that sometimes I try not to answer, but I also noticed that I often give a little bit too much, crossing my own boundaries for whatever programming being active, like putting the needs of others first or something like that. When you get in this dynamic, also when there is daily messages that are really like sucking you in your life with someone, or when you notice that there is an energy drain, this kind of dynamic can really pull at you every day, and you will feel it. You will get tired. You will get tired because you feel the cement of the relationship is not truth. It's not a true bond. It's like an energy harvesting. That's what it is in the end. For this, some quantum technologies can be really helpful. You can scan, if there is an aura option, you can scan your aura after whatever exchanges. Or you can also scan the relationship you have with someone. And I did that over a year ago with someone who is a handler on the public scene and who was daily messaging me, not taking the healing aspects that I was sharing, not applying them at all in their life, but kind of feeding from that dynamic. And whenever you set boundaries with these people, it never goes well, because that's one of their ways where they get their energy. That's one of their ways to be in control. These people often have a tendency to control, which is an open gate for being recruited as a handler and being used as a handler in the life of others. Also, if you are on social media, if you share anything, you might notice that on your channels, you will have random people sometimes asking questions. And you will pick it in the signature if it's authentic or if it's a kind of distraction energy. You will also pick it up even more easily when you realize that there is a repetition of behavior, like it's kind of trying to engage you in that interface dynamic where you will be harvested in your own knowledge without any form of an exchange. Now, for me, someone who is genuine is enough of an energy exchange for me to want to share and want to engage. So if you are real, if you are a spirited being, I generally happily answer your questions. Even if you are not real, if I appreciate engaging with you, if I appreciate the moment, then I will happily answer your question, as long as I'm not being used in terms of my energy in a way that I have not consciously decided. So when we go with the energy vampires, we are settling with energies that are kind of average. They are not all true resonance. True allies don't vampirize your energy. This is not this dynamic. And actually, the energy vampirism is a dynamic that really cuts you from wanting to open your heart with anyone, because you're being abused in the process, and it's never fun to be abused, and you don't want to open or stay hard connected in these kind of relationships that are either abusive or undermining. Energy vampirism is an access of our energetic boundaries. Energy vampires are crossing your boundaries and pushing their agenda. There is an agenda that is being pushed behind. It is mainly about also keeping you active in a little bit of your programming. Now, of course, the programs are using everyone around us through their own programming, their own weakness of character. So it will quickly become amplified as time goes if the person is not picking up the slight details that you might be putting here and there. And often energy vampires are asking for you to be in patience, to always be patient, always be giving, always be in that mode. It also encourages sometimes your alter, your people-pleasing aspects that are not fully you. So the programs are using everyone around us, whether they are our friend circles or clients or other kind of acquaintances. Sometimes even people we don't know online. It's just a name. We haven't been interacting. There hasn't been even a hello, like, you know, it's just starting with that question. So I like to give myself the freedom to filter and delete a lot of comment and questions I don't see any point to answer, because already the energetic from the start, I don't like it. So why would I answer? Why would I engage with the interface? And that way I've been actually saving a lot of my energy, protecting it. I've been doing lots of progress the last probably 10 years with that, with working on that reactive programming. Now, energy vampires are really skilled at well to get you in that reactive mode where you answer without even thinking, or because they have a certain way. I mean, they are skilled in manipulation games, right? So they have a certain way where they approach you that you feel engaged in the dynamic. They might practice love bombing, of course, giving you compliments, but you will feel that it's not entirely true and entirely genuine. And generally, the best ally to peer through love bombing is time, because time will reveal if something was genuine or if it was a pure love bombing practice. If this person is a steady presence in your life, or if you are being discarded, if this person has already gotten their new supply, or whatever is the situation. You have a lot of negative ET races here who want really to cement our relationships with different handlers in our lives. Handlers who are repressing us, bullying us. Sometimes it's even clients we are working with. If you're working as a practitioner, as a healer, as a, whatever the modality you are using. You might feel that you are being taken hostage before opening a message, and you might feel like, I don't really want to open that message, but there is also a form of addiction, or you have really to break through a lot of programming not to answer, just to delete a message, or when people have crossed your boundaries. It's important sometimes to self-preserve, and I've been doing that sometimes with beings who were problematic in my life, where I didn't open the messages, I deleted it for good, and I felt like I had to go beyond certain types of programming, like especially if it's a client, if it's a relationship with a client where there is a certain like loyalty to break through, about keeping posted about what's going on for them in their life and all the handling going on, right? But when the dynamic becomes toxic, then you kind of need to address that. I'm someone who will always address the true aspects, and that is why I only appreciate working with a small portion of the beings here. And I will address some of these aspects in another video. Of course, we're talking about also sometimes AI clients or handler clients, or these kinds of dynamics. I also noticed that there is a draining aspect to be in the presence of the handlers of other people around us. Like if you have fire creation friends, they most certainly have a lot of handlers around who are, attending their events, or, in their family, their partners, their children. So when you're interacting with them, you always sometimes have to be in the presence of these handlers that they are not your specific handlers, and you don't fall at all for who they are, their control energy, their dark, yucky energy. But you are in the circle of this fire creation being, and in their circle, they have other handlers. So this is kind of a negative aspect, and it can trigger a little weirdness, because it's hard to shut your eyes about what you're seeing, perceiving is going on, right? So that's another kind of dynamic to be dealing with. Now, here in public places, anywhere you go, you're gonna encounter a degree of simulation. So whether you attend a yoga class or a meditation class, it can also be online, doesn't have to be on site. But if there is a lot of simulation being present, it's going to be a huge harvesting operation, plus the alliances of the guides, the facilitators with different ET groups, of course, also used for harvesting. So that is one of the reasons where when 2020 happened, there was some really healing elements to it, where I've been traveling a lot, and a lot of my travels are engineered. I talked about that in the past. But the fact of knowing that there was nowhere to go really allowed me to sink deeper into my own our home. And this is something that I've kept, even if the energies have shifted since then. Because when we are at home, we are way less harvested. We are much more of a master. We are setting the energy way more, and it is our own energy. Hopefully, we don't share our space with major handlers, so we can have this space for retreat. You find also a lot of public figures who are harvester. They will hold your energy, sometimes in a sexual way as well. If they have sexual deviancies and stuff like that. If you go to a concert, you're also gonna be generally harvested, except if you are going with someone who works with true healing energies. So this can happen. It is rare, but it exists out there. And I've been in the presence of such singer healer who were not harvesting, who were very life-giving. But there was still a draining component because of the presence of other participants, their agreement as well, their consentment, etc. And even when you're dealing with the fire creation beings who have good intention, who is holding space for a yoga session, for example, the only fact that they are like, maybe you're surrounded by 80% of spiritless beings, they're gonna be an harvesting process. You're in the same room, it's depleting. I know there's a huge difference if I go, and that's a component why I don't really like to go, even if I get benefit from a session. You also have some public places that are set on the game map falsely as, you know, miracle places where miracles happen, like Lourdes in France. And these may actually be places where you're also harvested due to the presence of a lot of negative being there, portals and things like that. You also can find some practitioners who may have real healing skills, but who are vampirizing your energy when they practice a treatment on you, like a facial massage, you know. So this is a huge problem, and often you will find a link with them being in strong ego and also strong 3D frequencies, right? They are not aware, they are not able to become aware of what they are doing. They might even tell you, I'm receiving a healing as I'm doing the healing from you. It's because they actively take in your energy. So it's a huge lack of ethic, and it's a little bit problematic, isn't it? You also find the psychic vampires. These are the ones who will siphon your abilities or create instability in your mind states. On social media, we are commonly harvested as well, plus the triggering aspects, because there are a lot of negative AI choosing in what order, what you see first, and what's going to trigger you most, right? So you have all of this going on. Now, oftentimes we really want to believe the story, what other people are saying. We might push things in a corner of our mind that we are feeling off because somehow we get ourselves a little convinced by what's going on. But there is a moment where it's necessary to put an end to a toxic dynamic, because these games do target your highest timeline. do encourage you to play small. Do play on that programming, thinking you are not a good person, that you are mean. It's also a form of negative attention. It will reinforce your MK Ultra programming that pain is pleasure. And it encourages you to devote your love to abuser. It also encourages procrastination, apathy, and sedation. It might activate your obligation / politeness programming. It is very distracting. That's one of the main function, is distraction and weakening of your vital forces. So there is a moment when you realize these people are imposters and they are encouraging you to answer their needs at the expense of your own, which is very selfish, self-centered, of course. So it's good to recognize that handling and saboteur frequency and how it's trying to trigger you into your programming. Now, when you are cutting energy vampirism dynamic, you might feel a great boost of energy. It is like regaining your energy when cutting these agreements. Actually, I noticed some interesting positive thing to be in that energy of no more abuse. The next day, it's like the simulation was kind of adjusting to my new command and my new order, with things not interrupting me like it can, with the postman knocking at an appropriate time where I'm actually available, where I don't have to rush, and they were actually agreeable, like as a gang stalker postman can be. I mean, less disagreeable than the usual, maybe. And this postman actually knocked a few times, so because I probably didn't hear him the first time, so he tried again, and I heard that time. So it was the right timing for me, the right energies. And when cutting these agreements, you might have time to do some of these disagreeable things that we all have to do in our 3D reality, like, you know, cleaning the oven or scrubbing the toilet seat might not be the funniest thing we have planned on our day, but they are surely necessary 3D actions that all of us have to do if we want to keep our space clean and high vibe as well. A lot of energy vampires are not aware or conscious they are doing that. They generally are clever at disguising themselves and disguising their energy vampire techniques. So it might take us a little while to see through the illusion, and the deception might be ongoing for quite a long time. You will be picking up a lot of layers in these signatures. And there might be a moment when it will be time to address and change that dynamic. Energetically, it can be very clear in something you say, something you don't allow. You can be blunt if necessary. There is a time when it will be necessary to be addressing that very problematic and take a big jump and see how it's going from there, because it's always also the unknown. Now, there is a difference to trigger people when you are blunt about their games and when you are actually taking an action for you to stop the abuse in your life. It's very different from triggering the programming of someone and crossing their boundaries first. So these are two very different things that we should not confound. There are some very negative aspects that I find very difficult to stand in others who are playing these dynamics and then disguising it as friendship or a caring frequency, trying to disguise it as this caring frequency. And you can totally be respectful of someone and appreciate a person and put a boundary when they are becoming abusive and invading your field. There is nothing wrong with that. Too often we do enable vampiric types of behaviors due to poor boundaries. We are allowing others to use us as garbage bins. We are allowing our vital force to be decreased. And we find ourselves with missing part of our energy. We realize that this person has some of our energy. And there is a time when we stop agreeing to it. And you feel it when you get that energy back. I don't think no money is worth the holding down. No money is worth being abused, actually. And I'm someone who worked very hard for and with my clients, with my friends. I'm a hard worker. I like to be doing the work. I can feel when there is real spirit energy that I'm working with. Now, it can be triggering in different ways because you are holding the space for change. And this requests your energy involvement as a space holder. So it can trigger different things to merge with these energies for different reasons that are not energy vampirism, but that are still hard to navigate. Yet in this video, I was talking about the ongoing pattern that we can consent to, that we don't often create, but that we sometimes let hoard. We let it hoard ourselves in our back. We let our guard down. And there was a moment when changing this pattern of agreement and when we are breaking free from mind control. We are talking here about deep hidden entanglement. They are often in your back. You will find them in your field where it's hard to perceive them. So it's always interesting to stop allowing others to vampirize our energies, to work on these weak boundaries and to strengthen them, to stop agreeing to manipulative games. And generally, energy vampires do not react well to boundary setting because it is their way of sustenance and how they are getting energy here to survive also the madness. And you often find these people in the field of many, many different people, actually, many different beings, sucking the energy out. So this explains a lot why, this is one of the many reasons why we can feel drained or slowed down. It certainly encourages procrastinations. And when you address these energies, you can really lift a veil and refocus your energy to what you didn't have space for a lot of time. You might even have forgotten about it for a little while. A lot of us are energy sensitive and we can feel these dynamics going on in our lives. And that will affect hugely how you feel about someone. And they might never understand why. You will not treat them as you treat others who are not energy vampires. where you can really settle down with a much deeper bond of friendship, affection, trust. These are really relationships that are awesome and where it really flourishes when we are focusing our energies in these directions.